me see if that's working on my end.
All right. We are live on my end.
All right. Don't see myself live on my end, but it's no big deal. I don't want to.
Let me
I don't want to keep burning.
Oh yeah, you are live.
Oh, I am live. Okay. I just need to get a nice thumbnail for it. I didn't come prepared.
It's all good.
What's up, dude?
What's up? So today we're gonna talk about our looks maxing journey. Brad is coming to visit me in Turkey. We're gonna get a hair transplant, a double jaw surgery, and
Yep.
we're gonna make ourselves taller.
Yep. It's the secret to
And
youth.
yeah, we're here to document our process.
Definitely. Hello, guys. What's up? I'm in Turkey. I'm inside.
Yeah, today we're gonna do a talk on workflow. I reached out to Brad. So Brad, I've been following you for a while, and you have I've been following your workflow videos, like when you go live and you were animating some really cool stuff on the Ninja Turtle. And
Mm.
your stuff is pretty cool because I think you come from like a 2D background, right?
Yeah. So this is way back in the day when we started animating on paper and pencil. That's all. That's an ancient technology that doesn't get talked about nearly as much as it should. And 2D were basically the fundamentals of animation before technology made it a little bit more easier. I wouldn't say easier, but just a little bit more kind of fluent
Hmm.
and dependable, what a lot of people depend on, and not really familiar with the basic principles of timing and posing. We had what we called an X sheet, and it was basically calculating animation through then. Um, I dabbled in that a little bit, and that was right around the time that things went 3D. So, as you do, being a snot nosed kid in college, wanting to have a job and trying to break into the industry, that's when 2D was it was nearing its end of the golden era and slowly opening the doors up to the computer, or what they called the box back in the day. So yeah,
The box.
2D's kind of been my yeah. It's like like a TV box set. I don't know. Nobody
Oh.
knows what that is anymore.
And how old are you?
Late 39 ish.
Okay.
I'm gonna be 40 in this August.
40. Okay. We're
Yeah.
about the same age.
Hmm.
So how
We're
did
up
you
there,
like
the dirty 30s.
how did you like what inspired you to become an animator? Like any
Oof.
films, video games?
Yeah. Uh, Probably to sum it up, I grew up loving to draw. Uh, that was my that was kind of my one of my favorite things to do. Video games was a close second, and I got babysat on Disney movies. My parents would be working, and they bought me a whole
Right.
bunch of Disney movies, so I'd be watching them
Hmm.
to consume my life.
Any specific one?
One that I remember specifically that made me want to be when it was a movie called Rescuers Down Under,
Oh yeah.
but it was the end of that movie that they showed previews of how these things were made, and I saw people drawing these characters, and they were like, "These are animators," and I was like, "Wow, these are adults that look like my parents. They're drawing, and that's a job." I was like, "I think I kind of want that." So
Mhm.
that's when the bug bit, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rescuers Down and Under. Yeah,
Rescuers Down
1990.
Under. I remember specifically Kathy Zielinski,
Hmm.
Ruben Aquino, and this dude named Glenn Keane. He was a hotshot,
Oh.
still is. They were drawn characters, and I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool.
Hmm.
And I was a kid loving Disney movies. Went to high school. Uh, Told everybody I like Disney movies. Got the shit kicked out of me for it. I mean, I don't know if we can curse on here or whatever.
That's all good.
Got bullied around. I still get bullied around for liking Disney movies.
So
Um,
you got bullied because you liked Disney movies.
oh yeah, yeah. When you're a teenager growing up, you're supposed to be like chasing chicks and stuff. You're
Oh,
not supposed to be
what age
watching
was this?
Disney movies. Um, like probably my teenage years, like
Teenage.
10
Okay.
to 18. But
Okay.
I took a detour and just did what everybody else was doing. Like, what are you doing after college? I don't know, probably work for the government, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And did 2 years of that. Absolutely hated it. Was
Right.
bored out of my mind. Um, and then lo and behold, I did a family vacation after my graduation to Disneyland. I'm sorry, Disney World. And they did something called the Magic of Disney Animation. And I just fell over head over heels in love with it again and
Mm-hmm.
said to myself, you know what? I'm just going to ask somebody if it's possible to do this. And there was a guy, I forgot his name, but it was just like, you draw characters and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I really dug it. I was like, this is cool. And then he gave me contacts of like colleges teaching, you know,
Mm-hmm.
animation. One specifically was Ringling, which is,
Yeah,
the
I
hotshot
remember.
school. You know that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and I didn't get accepted, and I got even further pissed off. And I was
You
like,
did not get accepted to
oh no, no,
Ringling.
no, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
no.
you need to take a test to get into Ringling. I thought you just paid and you just go.
Well, you send a portfolio, and
Uh,
they're like, Ringling's no joke. They're like, we want to potentially teach like really promising artists, and I didn't know
mm-hmm.
what the hell I was doing as far as portfolios, and I couldn't draw as good, but
Right.
you know, I love the stories that people are like, yeah, I got accepted in the CAD, and I just put something together last minute, and lo and behold, I got accepted. Not me, baby. Nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope,
Right.
nope. I'm the guy that got rejected down the line,
Mm-hmm.
but I eventually got into a college. I got my computer animation degree, and yes, we actually
Like
had
a
degrees.
local community college.
Yeah, like a local community in Tampa, Florida. That's not
Mm.
there no more. It had an animation program there,
Mm.
and that's when online started to happen. Like Mentor just hit the scene, and then I animate shortly after,
Right.
and I was, you know, I was smart ass thinking I don't need any online tutoring. College is the way to go, right? This is what you do. You have to get a degree. Found out that that was a load of shit later on, and then I got myself into the industry just through persistence, and found out how much I needed help with animation. So
Mm-hmm.
after that, I joined an online course, and then just been learning and teaching ever since. So
Right. Did you have a specific mentor
specific mentor.
who really
Man, there's been
taught you?
so many great people that have taught me. I think the animation. I always remember the animation boot camp that I had. Probably when I was 4 or 5 years into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
there was a school called Anim Squad. It's not there no more.
Adam
But
Squad.
yeah, it was a ragtag road group
Mm-hmm.
driven by Marlon Lowell, and
Yes.
he had a bunch of Disney animators kind of tagging along with him. So I had him as a mentor, and I had Daniel
Mm-hmm.
Klug and one of the all-time greatest animators,
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Pierce.
Right. I remember all these names.
Yeah, and man, I had them back to back, and that's
Nice.
kind of just like I was forged. I kind of went through fire with all three of them, but I learned
Mm-hmm.
so much around that time. So they're always in the back of my head whenever I'm, you know,
Nice.
doing stuff. Yeah,
Nice. And
definitely.
then what like how did you get into the industry? Like what was your first job in the industry?
Um, Jeez, I gotta go back to the past. These are hard. You think these are easy questions? They're hard. What was
Yeah.
my first job? Um, so yeah, I basically busted my ass making a demo reel in 3D, which what I thought was pretty good. And I got a little subcontract job at a place in Fort Lauderdale called Animatic Media. It was basically a studio that puts 3D animatics together for projects that
Mm-hmm.
funded their company. So almost think like what third floor used to be, but
Right.
this was like a small group that just did worked in Photoshop and After Effects. But they actually were subcontracted to do a Sesame Street TV show. So This was Sesame Street, first big gig, and it was like a 3D show that was supposed to premiere in Nigeria, and it was called Sesame Square. You could find this on Vimeo if you search hard enough. You crazy detectives out there, pretty sure you could find it.
Yeah.
Uh, we were probably about like 6 or 7 episodes in, but uh, ultimately the show got well, the funding got pulled, the show got canceled, it went absolutely nowhere. So
Mhm.
all that remains of it is just old Muppet models uh, and half-ass renders
Yeah, I
of
see
Big
it.
Bird and
Found
yeah,
it on
Big
there.
Bird and Cammy, I believe.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of that stuff was my animation. But I remember one specific character called Beep Beep. You know, it was just the damn bus with a face on it, right? And I enjoyed animating that. And every once in a while, like we would just go off and animate our own things using the characters. I remember one specific shot, like 300 came around out around that time, and it
Mhm.
was pretty popular. And I remember I just took Big Bird and I animated him yelling like "This is Sparta," and he kicked a couple Muppets down the hole.
You still
So
have
yeah,
it
it's
somewhere?
oh man,
I want to see it.
that would be a treasure trove if I found it. I'm sure somewhere in one of my old Western Digital, you know,
Mhm.
drives. Maybe I haven't gone looking,
Western.
but you're just opening up all these memories. Yeah, yeah. We
Nice.
that was my first job, and then I got let go. I got
Hmm.
fired.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first job, which eventually led into connections that helped me with get my next job, and then after that, and so forth and so on. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice, man. Cool. Yeah,
It's
man.
back in
I
the
mean, um, yeah, today actually, I asked you to do like a couple. If you look at my YouTube channel, I'm more interested in like other workflows, you know?
mhm, mhm.
Um, so I just want to bring you up today and maybe like we can talk about workflow. I know you use Blender as well.
Mhm.
We can, but usually I use Maya. But if you want to
Yeah.
open up a scene or something, maybe like I can ask you questions about the scene. It can be Blender or Maya
Oh no,
if you
yeah,
have
we
anything.
can keep it purely Maya. Just
Hmm.
for context, you and your audience, yeah, I started really diving into Blender for just a few months,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's been pretty radical journey so far. Just seeing the ins and outs of the software, but yeah, we can definitely keep it pure. we can
Okay.
we can dabble in Maya if you want to a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I
Why
can
not?
I can kind of just take you kind of step by step of how I think
Yeah.
about
Like
stuff.
the Ninja Turtle shot, maybe,
Oh,
or
okay.
anything else, like something.
Yeah, we could dabble in that too if you like.
Okay.
I kind of just pulled up a let me see. Let me see if I'm sharing this correctly. Pulled up a Ninja Turtle here
Nice.
in my
Get
scene
you
right
added to
here.
stage.
This is my buddy Raph. He's a hothead like
Hmm.
me. This is what I look like on the weekends. Just pretty pretty ready to go. Um so yeah, like do you just kind of want to just shoot the shit or like or
Yeah.
anything
So
specifically you
I
want to
noticed like
talk
your
about?
stuff. Yeah, your stuff. Like you have like really strong poses. Like you really push your poses a lot,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
the contrast between your poses are really solid. So maybe like you can what goes into your mind when you're like how do you pose out your character? You know, like step by
Yeah.
step. Do you have a process? You talked about the towel, like when you're doing twist and tilt. You talked about that towel example, which was really cool. Maybe you can talk about that, like how to push your
Yeah.
spine, the head. Let's just
Yeah.
free flow it.
Yeah, there's because I was watching you and I was watching you and Alon the other day
Hmm.
on your live stream with him and Alon is the man. I love
Yeah.
Alon. I learned so much stuff from him from Blizzard and him and Casey McDermott. Uh just on how to get like a feel and a look and something like quickly inside of Maya just to kind of get like because they usually work in spline and
Hmm.
they kind of take off from there and stuff. And I'm all good with that too. I used to work in spline for a couple, but I feel like a lot of my a lot of my stuff that I do is like starting and blocking, and
Hmm.
really it's fundamentally about posing. And I think that's something that's really, really kind of overlooked in today when people are animating, because when you, like for me personally, when I think about movement and I'm trying to just find a movement, you tend to lose whatever character that you're
Right.
kind of animating, like it always brings me back to the 2D days when they say something like, the nine old men used to preach this, and hardly nobody knows what the nine old men anymore, which is ridiculous. They talked about, sincerity of characters, like what's a character thinking, like what's on their mind. Can you relate internally to like how they move and the shapes that they the shapes that they portray. And if you think about the principles of animation, there's one in there called solid drawing, right?
Right.
And it's specifically saying drawing too. But in today's age, I mean, how many of us do 2D and how many of us do drawings? Like, or does that carry over? Does that have anything to do with 3D? Because we're not really drawing. We're moving a puppet. We're moving 3D characters around. But if you think about it, like how are we portraying um, uh, like uh, golden golden poses inside of 3D when it comes to drawing? Solid drawing was called that for a reason, because you were making a 2D drawing, but you had to give it dimension, you have to give it weight, you had to give it symmetry, you had to make it believable. And I think for the 3D era, it's exactly what it's describing, except with what we're doing with our rigs. We're making posing, and it's good through good posing. I would put a stamp on it and say we can call it solid posing. And I think that's what's a big fundamental in what goes into your animation, because it's like whenever a character or an animation is taking place, you really have to spend time on your posing to make them feel alive, to make them feel hefty, to make them feel weighty.
Hmm.
Uh, I took a 2D class with Randy Haycock, and he always described it as treat every drawing as if you can pause it at any moment and then like just actually, you know, like see what this is about, like know who this character is, know what's
Right.
going on in this scene. And it always stuck with me too. Malcolm Pierce said it best too, especially when it came to like making your demo reel. He said before you even hit play on your animation, I should be able to already tell what this is going to be about. I should already be able to like understand what's going to happen or what your character is about to do, or have a feeling of what your character is going through right now.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, what a load of shit. It was like, and then really, like honestly, like I love all that stuff. I love hearing like how they think about this stuff. But when it came to posing, I really took that to heart of how you break down a character. So right now, as I'm talking, you're seeing me model this character. You're seeing me pose this
Hmm.
character a little bit. But what I'm thinking of is like if you guys ever found a book called Force Dynamic Life Drawing, it's by Michael Matness. It talks a lot about force lines, like arcs, pushing, posing, energy lines. There's also another one called Dynamic Posing by an animator called Sammy Youssef, and she came down to Bardell when we were working on Ninja Turtles, and she's such a sweet person, nice personality, but she's a 2D animator too. And her theory was you can basically throw a pose, you could draw a pose, but be defined by one line, which I always thought was pretty crazy.
Wow.
And this is like the energy line, basically, kind of like what we think of as arcs. But if you were just to like, because right now I'm looking at this pose right now with my character with Raphael, and I'm just kind of seeing something like kind of like this, something that
Hmm.
starts with the back foot and just leans into it. And when I look at that, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can push my foot out a little bit more.
Hmm.
Maybe I can get a little bit more down to the ground. I could feel that power. I could feel that pressure. And I'm starting to look for bend and twist that Glenn King used to always talk about in Tangled, where you tilt one way, you tilt another way.
Hmm.
You find you're twisting one way and you're taking your lower body and twisting the other way, kind of like, what we were talking about with like the towel, Like
Mhm.
Malcolm used to talk about it like a wet towel. He's like, think of your character like you're just grabbing your character like a wet towel and just squeezing that,
Squeezing.
squeezing that water, going one way, going the other way. It's like you're feeling it. You're feeling that pressure. You're feeling that energy coming out of there. And it's funny how, I go to all these lectures and then people kind of talk about it in their own different way. Like this is the core, this is the power line, or this is the magic line, or this is your arcs, or this is like your standard form. So it's just kind of meshing all that together. I'm like, okay, well, everybody's got a different way of explaining it or talking about it. But they're all uniting in that one idea that this is important, when it comes to your animation. So I always look at it as like really taking my time to focus on just posing in general, just to make it feel strong. And in this case, Raph, he's a strong, rough dude, and I want to, like see if I could push the shoulders up a little bit more. Like maybe I can rotate, these arms out a little bit more through here. Kind of got like
Mhm.
a little bit of short arms through here too. Sometimes I'll break it and cheat it a little bit, like translate the clavicles because they put so much
Mhm.
emphasis on the arms and stuff. So like, just, and you're starting to see like as I'm working on this, I'm starting to like really kind of tilt angles, kind of twist into, kind of how I'm looking at the front and the side too. So this guy is,
Mhm.
just going out a little bit, and I'll just take my time and then work on that one pose to say, okay, this is my either my idol or my character that lives and breathes in this pose, and then basically just every piece of animation, whether it comes to like your next pose or your breakdowns, like will come from that. Like you'll feel that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just looking for those nice angles, looking to see how I can push it without breaking it, right? Like you can break a character, but I usually save the breaking for when it comes to like polish and
Mhm.
breakdowns. That's why it's called breakdowns because you can literally get away with murder in between
Mhm.
those frames. You can break down that stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can clearly see what he's going to do next, right? I have an idea of
Mhm.
what he's going to do in a couple frames. Like
Mhm.
that's a really like that makes a nice pose.
Yeah. And Michael always talked about it like this. He's like, you never want to have anything too straight or too like same, too asymmetrical. Like
Mhm.
you're looking at this drawing, and as I'm looking at this right now, let me see. I got my hotkey through here too. So as you're looking at this, let me select off over here too. So as you're looking at this, you have like simplified, and then you have complicated. You know, something that kind of takes your right side to your left side, and you're almost
Mhm.
looking at it at shapes. Like this is a turtle guy, so he has a big shell too. But since Raph is so tight and so low, the overall shape language of him is kind of like a square, which means stability.
Mhm.
Stable, strong, almost immovable, tight.
Right.
Steady. And then you could emphasize even more shapes around them, like circles, which is more nimble, agile, friendly, appealing, things like that. And
Mhm.
if you could put two shapes into one, then you start combining those shape languages too.
Wow.
Now, am I thinking about this as I'm posing it? No, because it's
No.
just way too much, right?
Mhm.
But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like really get a sense that I feel this character. Like as you said, you're starting to feel what he's gonna do. Like you're starting to get a sense of like, okay, this guy's ready to go, or I feel that energy, I feel that weight. I try to make sure that the weight isn't just I'm just putting him in. I'm stabilizing him. So I'm gonna center him out a little bit, kind of twist him out a little bit too, and then I'll start really playing around with kind of like the angles. So like you said, the tilting and the twisting. Right now, like there's a couple of lines that are kind of screwed up, so then I just kind of refine it. And I don't spend
Mhm.
too long on this because I know that even when I'm posing this, I'm going to come back and adjust these a little bit later. You know,
Right.
um, Glenn Keane said it best. He says, if your animation feels bad 98% of the time, it's because of your weak posing. And I
Wow.
was like, that's
Brutal.
pretty bold statement, right?
Yeah.
To be throwing around to a bunch of animators, but it's true. Um, Uh, yeah. So yeah, so this is kind of like, first pose, and then I tend to use a lot of Anibot tools a lot as well. So like right now I got little hot sets. So like I know like most of you guys use like character controls too. Like I used to do them, but like these hot sets right through here, and I do like this little hotkey marker. So where my cursor's at, I can bring this up at any time. So this is like my all key, and then I got my cog. I tend to use a lot of Animbots to help me navigate and get around my Maya scene as quickly as I possibly can. And I tend to use a lot of like shifting in and out. So like right now, like I have my graph editor here. I'll have like another zone in case I have a camera. Like I have like my production view, and then I'll just have my straight up, you know,
Hmm.
like overall view too, in order to kind of help me, just uh, keep going around my scene, as I'm working with my Wacom pen, because I feel like a connection between my pen and moving my character, it feels a little bit more freeing than actually doing it with a mouse, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
yeah.
Endless Nova says, "I can't draw, man. It's hard."
Oh yeah. Me neither. I'm with you there.
Yeah, I can't.
Drawing is a craft, and like art, it takes time. You're
Hmm.
not gonna be great at it. The people that are amazing at it that we see in the glamorous world of social media, trust me, they're putting in their time. They're constantly refining and practicing. I rarely met somebody who can do both at the same time, like 3D and 2D.
Hmm.
It's either you're good at one or you're good at the other. But like all things, the more you practice, the better you get at it. Now, I'm not a good draftsman, but what I look for is just basic components. So, like, what I'm doing here is just basically think of it as a stick figure, you know? And if I'm just doing something as simple as this, I can say, okay, here's my chest, here's my hips, right? Here's my legs, and here's my arms. And that's all I'm needing. I'm just looking for a pose, a structure, a figure. Because even great mannequins of something that isn't as detailed as Raph, you can get just as much emotion out of something like this, and you don't need to like think about shading or details or anything, but it's more about structure, balance. How does this equivalate to what I'm trying to get across, with this character, if that makes sense. Let's see.
Really cool.
Cool.
Do you
Okay.
also like when you're doing something like a body mechanic shot? Do you also like pose out the face as well, or you just keep to those like rough?
Nah,
Okay.
nah, I don't. Yeah, I don't tend to do that one that much. I think the big thing is, for me, I don't care about the details. Like I don't care about the bendies or the secondary motion and all that
Right.
stuff. I really just care about the core. I care about the core of the character, what they're going to be doing, how they're going to lead into it. Like
Hmm.
what are they feeling? And then my basic thing is right now I have 500 frames. That's way too much. I don't need 500 frames on my scene. What I
Hmm.
like to do is I like to really, really kind of dabble into like posing. So just in general, I'm feeling okay. So this is my idle pose. I want to make them to anticipation. Now, there's so many ways you can go about doing, like, let's just say an attack. Um, the more frames that you're able to give an animation, that will determine how heavy a character is, and how readable a character is. I'm sorry, how heavy a character is, and how much how slow a character is. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
spacing will talk about how readable it is and how fast it is too as well. So just to kind of put that into like, let's just say, because I work on fighting games, right? I'm in NetherRealm. I work on Mortal Kombat,
Hmm.
and we do a bunch of body animation. I don't even touch the facial animation until later, because I always feel that if I can give animation its identity through body motion, uh, then the facial animation is just gonna be the cherry on top. It's just going to complete that motion. Mind you, that this is just an attack. Raph is not talking. Like if it's a dialogue shot, that's a whole nother ballpark. When it comes to expressions and moments and internal dialogue. Mike McCarowitz taught me that's something a little bit later. But
Mhm.
for this one, like let's just say he's in a fighting game, right? And I'm making an anticipation pose. So I'm kind of looking at the core of the weight. And I do a lot of flipping. I do a lot of back
Oh
and
yeah.
forth flipping, just to kind of feel that movement. But I'm not really quite interested in the flow of things yet. Just more of like the pose change and where it's going to go. So obviously, like he's going to be winding up through here. Uh, this is like just like a small little anticipation frame through here. So as I'm going through here, I'm kind of thinking, okay, what can I do to kind of break into this, right? What can I twist? What can I move? What can I do to feel that wind up, that power that's happening through here? So this is just like one frame, okay? Normally a lot of animators work pose to pose. I used to do that for 2D, but I do a lot of straightforward because I feel like if I can get the flow moving, then I can just take the keyframes and retime them the way that I need to, and then
Right.
push them later, so
Right.
to speak. You know. So yeah, like so. Let's just say like this is moving through here, and another big thing too. I can't stress enough for people animating is pay attention to your feet
Oh
when
yeah.
you're when you're working on this stuff.
Don't
Like
stick them
don't
to the floor.
yeah, don't keep them dead, like make sure
Yeah.
that they're moving, they have balance, they have shifting. You don't need to slide them, but at least something that's making them feel like they're part of the ground, they're
Mhm.
because the basic thing is that weight sells everything in animation. Body mechanics follow, and the thing that's really going to emphasize weight is how it's connected to the ground, so like
Right.
really really take your time and think to yourself like, okay, how is this moving? Like even right through here too, maybe I just might budget just a little bit, but just something that gives me something that's moving. If your character is moving and if there's like one spot that feels dead or not moving at all, it doesn't feel connected. That's what Randy
Right.
Haycock was telling me. It all runs from the ground up. He was a
Oh
big
yeah.
believer in Tai Chi, so it's like the energy comes from the earth up, so it's like I could just breathe while I'm animating and kind of feeling that,
I like
so to
that.
speak. Yeah. But yeah.
And there's also like fat underneath your sole, right? Like the foot is always like adjusting itself. Like when you move, it
Hmm.
squashes, it stretches, it goes kind of goes into the floor sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, and that's all the scaling and stuff. And then that's usually the time when I start polishing it, like I don't really concern myself with shaping everything too much because
Mhm.
I want to get the core of the movement down. I want to get the energy. I want to feel like, where my character is coming from and going to. And big thing is anticipation because anticipation is everything
Mhm.
when it comes to selling that energy. But as you can see, I'm starting to change my shape all of a sudden. So before I had a square, right? He's
Mhm.
stable, he's strong. Now you see how I'm starting to shift his body over a little bit. Like I'm starting to
Yeah.
like really bend into changing his overall shape, more of like a triangle,
Triangle.
so to speak. Yeah. So this is more of a deadly shape. It's more of a kind of like a faster, more
Hmm.
like a dangerous type of shape too. So I'm kind of utilizing that shape language
Hmm.
when it comes to like moving from one pose to
Hmm.
another. And since he's a big boy, since he's like kind of like a pudgy boy too, it's not going to be like Circus Olay with him. I'm not going to be too flexible. Right now, I'm just concerned about feeling like power, like feeling like a snap in
Yeah.
there, like feeling something that feels like it's coming from him or like the core
Yeah.
movement, so to speak.
So interesting. Like when you did frame two, I thought that was your main extreme anticipation pose.
Hmm.
I thought you're going to add more in betweens in there, but you went to frame two. Sorry, the
Hmm.
frame one was I thought it was the anticipation pose, and then you went to frame two, and you
Hmm.
kind of like eased into that last pose. I wonder if you're
Yeah.
going to keep going forward. This is
Yeah.
interesting to see.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it's like I kind of picked this up from Malcolm when he was like
Hmm.
working over our shots. He would like stop on one of our poses and he kept pushing it even further. He kept like bending it
Yeah.
and making it more appealing and like, extending the arm out, like watching the silhouette. So like quick trick I'm sure you guys are familiar with is if you just hit 7 and you start like seeing the silhouette, this is like a good indicator of like how you're posing and how your shaping is changing a little bit too.
Hmm.
So like even through here too, it's like, okay, maybe I can rotate this guy a little bit more outward. So that way the arm is coming out. Maybe I can bend him a little bit more through here. Maybe I can, tilt the chest a little bit more out here. Maybe I can translate it a little bit more there. Maybe I can pull this arm out a little bit more through here. And now when I go back, it's like, oh God, like, I have a real big extreme pose, that I'm pushing even further. So
Hmm.
sometimes I just do that to dial it back. And also it's really good because this is kind of determining my timing and I haven't even figured out if I want to make this like a light attack or if I want to make this a heavy attack too, because that all gets determined by your anticipation. If I want to make a quick attack, all I need to do is just hold this probably for about 2 frames and just go straight into the hit.
Hmm.
So just for kind of like demo purposes, I'll just show it. I'll just show this to you, and then I'll show you how you can just like morph it into something that's a little bit more heavier, right? So like coming through here, I'm just kind of looking at like where the angle's at. I've got my little switch tool. It's my hotkey. So if you lucky guys have Animbot, you can do this little guy, which is like switch back and forth. I highly recommend to you guys too that let me get my split AC
What are
because
you
it's getting
switching
hot.
back and forth? I didn't get it.
Oh, just it's just like so like I'm on my left side and now on my right side.
Oh,
So it just
cool.
kind of helps save time. So like let's just say I'm working on my right arm and I just switch over to my left arm really quickly.
Nice.
I I don't like to animate like my grandpa and just like grab controls. Most people are like that. But any way that I can have a clear visual of what I'm looking at, even I like to have hotkeys that take away my controls so I can
Yeah.
just focus on the character itself. Because sometimes we clutter ourselves with too much visual information
Right.
and the process kind of gets lost in the character, so to speak. And then we have to like kind of jump back into it. So, it's just like any like little time saver I like to do. Jeff, uh, uh, Jeff Engel told me something like he said, if there's a process that you do in Maya a lot, like if you're constantly going back to hotkeys and do it, like save yourself the trouble and make a shortcut for it. So that way
Hmm.
you're just constantly focusing on your process and not looking back down at your keyboard all the time to make sure that you're hitting the buttons correctly or
Right.
clicking on a small little whatever, in
Hmm.
order to like, take you out of the zone, but stay back in the zone, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So the flipping that you do, did you assign those keys to the left side of the keyboard so you don't like look down? It's close to
Yeah,
translation rotation.
yeah. The problem is that, and this is what Jeff Gabor taught me too. Jeff Gabor, he's an OG animator of Blue Sky that's never not there anymore. But he always
Hmm.
said he was like, if I am, I'd rather keep my hand on one side of the keyboard at all times. If I'm going back and forth to the keyboard, it's just like I'm breaking my flow on what I need to do if I have a specific point that I need
Hmm.
to be animating into. He always talks about being in the zone and staying in the zone. The
Right.
trouble is with keyboards, there's only so much you have on the left side, and I'm a left-hander, so
Oh,
I'm drawing. I'm working with my left hand too. So I actually have this crazy piece of machinery.
what is that?
Uh, yeah, it's like a custom hotkey. Yeah, it's like a custom hotkey gauntlet that fits the size of my hand, and it's almost like it's
No.
built for gamers. So like playing first person shooters,
Yeah.
but this is like 3 buttons in one. So one, two, three, four, five. Actually, 5 buttons in one. So you can program them all how you need to, right? And this is like something that drawing, I always see animators with their keyboards like attached to the top of their screen, or maybe they have like a moon type of halfway keyboard that's split
Uh-huh.
into two, or maybe they have macro keys like
Right.
you might have seen like the X keys. This one's easy on my hand. It doesn't give me carpal tunnel, and I can just adjust it accordingly. So it's like all this stuff, like this part right here is Alt, you know. So like
Wow.
in like as I'm holding it, I'm navigating and then pressing all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah, I'm slowly teaching myself. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not
What
like
is
a
that?
crazy
What are
drum
those
player.
fingers?
What's that?
What are those finger looking things?
Oh, on
Like,
top here.
yeah.
Oh, these are just extra buttons. So let me see. Like, it's pretty wild. Like, so like they don't come up, but they have like buttons. So every time you hit this, like a tab, this is a
Mhm.
button. So it's basically saying, like, I don't know if you could see it, but it's basically saying I can press, I can push down, I can go left, I can go up, and I can also go up. So I'm hitting like 5 buttons without even barely moving my finger.
That's crazy,
I know, isn't it nuts? It's like stupid crazy.
man.
Um, but yeah, I'll have to. I totally forgot the name of the company that makes these, but yeah, they custom make them. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but I have like my battle tag for show on there.
For
So
sure. Whoa.
yeah, it's pretty nuts. I don't know why I chose green. Maybe because I love turtles so much.
Turtles,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Vertex says hi. Hey, hi. What's up?
Hmm. Yeah. I've been animating with a pretty much a mouse all my life, and I
Mhm.
remember Kenny Roy did a demo on animation, and he was using a tablet,
Mhm.
and we were like, so hey, what's up with the tablet? Like, or like does it make animation any easier? And he just kind of looked up and just said, I have never gone back. Like,
Right.
and it was just like just that kind of like that awe moment, like holy crap, maybe this is
Mhm.
something we need to try to do. And all the best animators that I've worked with when it came to real effects were using the tablet too. And
Mhm.
I was like, damn, if I could only figure out how to do this, uh, because I'm left-handed and their keyboards are always on the right, so I can't program my brain to do that. So yeah, this company uh, allowed me to actually get it for my right hand, so I can use my left hand too.
Very nice.
I'm gonna break it in. I'm gonna break up to the into the mouse too. Now that I've showed you that, I feel like I'm too pressured to do a good job afterwards. But yeah, so yeah, just kind of coming off through here. Uh, so yeah, just kind of rolling into it.
Mhm.
Um, this is kind of like the part where I just kind of tell myself like, okay, this could be a total like punch attack. Like I can basically move into this and say like, okay, I got my anticipation. Like we'll just say like this is as far as I'm going to go, and then I can basically cut right into my attack. So now all I'm looking for is just like energy lines. So this is the most extreme I can get with the stance that he's in. And I'm also looking at my front pose through here too as well, if I could zoom out.
What is the energy line? Is that the force line that you were talking about, or is it like line
Yeah,
of action? What is it? What's the difference?
yeah. I mean, I like to call it the energy line. So let me just do like a quick plug with Sammy Youssef. So like this is the book for force and movement for you guys that are interested. Movement and
Mhm.
Form by Sammy Youssef. And she basically talks about this as like, because she's a fine art artist and she does like a lot of gesture drawing, right? So you'll see it in this pose. Like she talks about foundations of gesture and power and movement and form. Basically just like how like just even in a pose can come from one line. So like even if you see a gesture, it's almost like you can draw one line from the bottom up to the top, and you can feel where the energy and the movement is coming from. And these are just drawings, guys. So like when you feel like a gesture or drawing that has force, that's just influencing your animation and how much you can keep pushing it, to
Mhm.
give that feeling that you want to. So that's why I always hold posing as the front and center, of like what I want to do with my animation.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll say like, okay, just from that, like even through here. So I'll just say like, okay, here's kind of like where my pose is at. And this is just a stick figure, right? So something kind of like this. And then I'm going to be like, okay, where would my energy transfer over from this line. So this is like the extreme bend I can do here. So now let's transfer it to the extreme bend that's probably over here, and think of it as, okay, there's my leg, there's my punch,
Hmm.
there's my back end. It's like this transition, this swap is what I'm looking for. And you could
Hmm.
happen over one frame or a couple of frames, just depending on the timing you want, in order to make it register as a quick attack or a heavy attack, you know. And then that's where you get your animation basics from when it comes to that feeling that we're looking for. So I'm just going to do this one really quickly, and
So
I always
Jack,
start
yeah,
from the core.
sorry, Jack
Go ahead.
says coming late to this, but will this video be available for later? Yes, it will be. This interview is very informative. Sujeto and Stigraph says interesting. Just want to read those really quick. Yeah, go ahead,
Cool.
Brett.
Yeah, yeah. Please, yeah. Don't. If anybody has any questions, yeah,
Yeah, if you have any questions, please.
yeah. Feel free to bug me. Uh, I know I tend to talk a lot when it comes to my workflow. I never really
Mhm.
was good at kind of like animating, animating and talking at the same time. It wasn't like a particular skill that I had. But
Mhm.
after doing a whole bunch of streaming services, I think I've kind of like, found a
Yeah.
knack for it a little bit. And after teaching so much, I've really pushed
Mhm.
that skill a little bit too.
Brad,
And
you're
you,
also teaching at iAnimate, right?
yes, yeah.
Workshop, games
Workshop
workshop.
one, yeah, workshop one. Um, this is, and I also need to pull. Let me see. I know there's a stretchability on these guys too. I like to cheat it a little bit. Let me see. Find what that pose is. Yeah, workshop one. I teach basics game animation.
Mhm.
I'm teaching it right now, and yeah, it usually consists of like 3 animation assignments. And is it the leg? Okay, there's the leg. This is the stretch, and it's also I also do private tutoring too, so
Okay.
one-on-ones as well. So if you guys don't feel comfortable in the classroom and you like to be more very focused on one or two areas, or just like in
Mhm.
general, like what you're working on, or just wanting feedback, I also include that service too as well.
How can they reach out to you on that, the private?
Yeah, that's a good question. I need to actually. All my stuff is like guerrilla website right now, so it's just like
Mhm.
pretty much just reach out to me on my email. It's pretty much just Brad Faucheux TV at Gmail.
Mhm.
Just a contact, and just nothing. You don't need to be like super formal about it. Just be like, hey, just looking for a mentor, and then like I'll probably just ask to see where your reel is and where you're at, what you like to do, and then I try to make it flexible as I can. I can't take everybody all at once because I'm so busy doing
Mhm.
a whole bunch of stuff on the other side, but I like to try to keep it flexible for our friends overseas, our friends in Turkey, our friends in Europe, Asia. I try to make it as easy as I can on them. I do like hourly, and I also do kind of like a 4 weeks program too, where I just record everything, talk about what you need to talk about, give like a bunch of my feedback and advice. Sometimes I'll actually open up your scene and help you out to that too, if you want to take it that far.
Mhm.
Yeah, just kind of like it's like your own animation buddy, that's just got your back.
Nice.
Yeah.
So put your email there. It's two T's. Brad for show two
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's it.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Steven's got
Nice.
it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very early in this whole business setup. So, yeah, just
Hmm.
bear with me. I don't have a secretary or a manager or anything. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, we're gonna work on it.
Yeah. But if there's anybody who'd like to, help a brother out,
Mhm.
with his little dream of his little animation business. Be sure to also send that into email too as well if you like to, you know, help some of the workload out.
Yeah.
Cool. And this is kind of fun because like right now, like I'm just focusing on the pose right now
Hmm.
and just kind of seeing how far I can take it. Like this is where I start to really push the pose and really, you know, really play around with like how much I can get away with breaking this guy. And again, just kind of looking at the tilt, the twist, uh, like how far I could push it. You're starting to see like there's some weird stuff happening with the shell right there, and that's just the limitation of the rig. So sometimes you just got to be careful of like how far that you're pushing or what you can do. In this case, yeah, this case it's kind of like more zeroing it out. There's also
Hmm.
some offsets too as well. I also tend to like just because I saw you and Alon were going after the whole rotation order. I tend to
Hmm.
work a little bit differently. I have on my trigger finger two, which just resets everything. So like it resets all my attributes to zero. So
Yeah.
that way, whenever I'm making stuff, I know I'm just starting strictly from zero, and I'm not over rotating anything. I tend to do that stuff quite a lot in order just
Hmm.
to kind of keep my animation in check. So yeah, and then from here, cool. I can also do a little bit of overshoot, through here. So this is just kind of like me going, you know, finding that, and I also do a lot of flipping back and forth, like just to kind of see how my animation's playing out right now. I know I need a little bit more turn into that chest area. Probably bring this one out just a little bit more too as well. I'm like really just kind of focusing on just
So basically,
strong
you're
poses.
flipping through your 2D drawings by
Yeah,
flipping back and forth, right? That's like the
yeah.
mentality of it. That's the mindset.
Yeah, it's like an old technique that the 2D animators used to do with paper. They flipped back and forth. They would draw and just constantly check their motion, their progress too. I
Hmm.
know a lot of people like the play blast, and I know, and right now as I'm playing it, you already see motion, right? You're seeing a
Yeah.
feeling. You're seeing where that energy is going to. And then this is just kind of like making sure that okay, yeah, I'm breaking the character. I'm starting to see, some silhouette. Maybe I can push it just a little bit further. Maybe I can tweak it a little bit here. This is like where I call my contact pose or my hit pose.
Hmm.
And for the hit attack, like I tell all my students, especially like when they're doing like attacks, um, you want to make sure that you have your anticipation, but also your hit pose too. Um, and then you could take that further when called an overshoot. I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but I'm
Yeah.
just working on getting my and then kind of looking at it from all angles, trying to like and then seeing this and seeing that. It's like okay, cool. Maybe I can take this and rotate this back a little bit more, right? So now you're really getting more, you know, more spacing in between that motion, and you're kind of coming
Wow.
back and forth, and then really feeling like more of a
Yeah.
hit.
It made a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just like small, simple stuff like that. Small, simple things that I can go back and tweak it. And mind you, I just got four poses already. Like I'm not even doing any in betweens. I'm not letting Maya translate stuff for me. I'm
Hmm.
just like focused, like pretty much just on the core of like what this animation's supposed to be, you know. Um, and that's kind of how I tackle it. I rough out a lot of this blocking stuff and then keep it there just in case I need to come back and change a couple things. But I try to work with as minimal controls as possible. That's another thing too. I don't keyframe everything. I
Hmm.
try to get this information in just like 10 controls tops, if I can,
Right.
you know. And that's kind of like what
But
I
when you separate them out, you key everything, right? Because like
yeah.
right now, there's no keys on the whole. I see. Okay.
Right, right. And here's another fun tip too, because like sometimes like let's just say keyframing stuff. I'm working on my chest, but notice how like my hips right here has a keyframe on one, and I'm looking on like my chest and it doesn't have a keyframe on one. Or let's just say like I want to incorporate this knuckle control, and all of a sudden have keyframes on nothing through here too,
Hmm.
right? So instead of like what I used to do, when I grabbed everything and just S S S S S, there's a little cool tool in Anabot called Share Key Times, you know
Yeah.
so basically, like I use that all the time. It's just I grab something else and I just click that, and all of a sudden, it just adapts to everything. So now I got keys on all my controls
Nice.
too, which is great.
Cool.
And then we
Brad,
get
Akash,
overblown. Oh yeah,
sorry,
go
cut
ahead.
you off.
It's good.
Akash says, I joined just now. So if you haven't already, could you please talk about or show us how you anticipate an action while keeping it responsive for the player?
Oh, okay.
If you can,
Show us how you anticipate an action while keeping responsible for the player. Um, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was gonna do like a hit and then probably like come back. So I think this is kind of like I think I have enough just to kind of show you right now. Like I can
Mhm.
keep posing till the cows come home and like pushing it even further. But I think like even through here, I have a little hotkey. I think was done by Animation Journey that selects everything. So
Mhm.
I'm just gonna hit all this stuff really quick. And also too, what I like to do is I'll show you this guys in a second. I'll just go right back to idle. So this is basically like your your straight up most simplest attack. This is your jab, okay?
Yeah.
So think about it, guys, when you're playing a video game such as Cuphead or Mega Man or Castlevania, and you want that instant feedback, that instant pop or that whip. This is what's called a light attack, something that's done in its simplest form, like 4 frames to 5 frames, and you're starting to see that instant feedback. Now, mind you, this is quick. If we were to put this into a combo, this is your dad beating the hell out of you with just like rapid punching buttons, right? This is the people that claim that they're good at video games when really all they're doing is just button mashing,
Button
as we
mash.
call it in the industry. Um, but to his question, I think he was asking, like, how do you make it more responsible to the players? It all comes from timing. And this is basically just your core keyframe posing, your idle, your anticipation, your hit, your return. Now, if I wanted to make this a little bit more heavy or a little bit more responsive, and by the way, before I start doing this, I like to keep my stuff clean because right now this is a keyframe on everything. Now, every controller I don't need, like every single finger control, I don't need all this stuff red. So what I really like to use is something through here called delete static channels. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but oh my God, this cleans up everything, you know. So
Yeah.
I have that as Alt Q, right? And then
Mhm.
basically all that stuff only things that I'm keying are the only things that I need to worry about, right? And then blocking, so like let's just say this is my quick attack, okay? So if I want to make a medium attack, so to speak, maybe I just hold a little bit more in the anticipation frame. So I just take these guys, let's say, let's just pull them out. Oh yeah, sorry, I got to grab everything first and foremost. So let's just say this is the anticipation, right? Maybe I just pull them out 2 frames, right? So all of a sudden you're getting a little bit of anticipation, which is cool, but it's still coming back quickly. So in order to read that as like a heavy pose, and I think I got give me a second here. I think I got a little stray. Oh crap, sorry.
Yeah.
I selected all twice, and there's a bug on this tool that if there's like more than one controls, it kind of glitches out a little bit.
Right.
Uh,
Did you save your file? Let's
no,
just
I
save it
didn't.
just in
No,
case.
I
Yeah, I
didn't.
do that all the time.
Yeah,
Let's just
yeah.
save it.
So yeah, definitely save it, and definitely if you have Anabot, turn this little heart guy on, so that way that it would fix your crash. This is amateur animating, by the way, guys, so don't follow my example. uh, Hopefully Maya will show me mercy. Just give it a second or two. But basically, kind of like going back to like what he's asking, the more anticipation that you give to an attack, the more heavier it feels, and the more frames you're going to read, depending on if it's a combo. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to save really quick.
Nice.
And so, like, basically, all I'm doing is just making sure that this is in the right spot, and all I'm doing is just giving it more time. So as I'm doing this, you're starting to feel a little bit more of a heavier attack, right? And then maybe I can put the anticipation frame a little bit sooner and drag out the hit pose a little bit longer. So now you have a little bit more of a heavier attack, right? Now, mind you, there's no overshoot and there's no poses in there, but I'm giving more weight and more information to how this attack should feel and how this should respond, to the player. So there's actually interesting ways that you can do this. So the first is if you want a quick attack, but to feel heavy. Hang on a second, guys. Sorry about that. Huh? Uh huh. Okay, can we wait a little bit? I'm trying to do. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, but yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so like in order to like really feel the weight of an attack, you can put a lot of anticipation onto how long you're holding it. So this is kind of like a medium attack. And if you want to do a heavy attack, usually all that does is just require more frames. So in a sense, this charge up or this build. So like let's just say this is where I get a little tricky and I start to cheat a little bit. So anticipation, right? We're starting to ease into it. And then I start playing around with the tween tool. So I'll just hit like tween, let it do its thing. Let's see. Sorry about that. I selected everything. My bad. All right. Hit that. Okay, this is anticipation. Okay, move that forward. And then if I hit my, keyframe first and then hit my tween machine through here. Oh, did I lose my anticipation? Oh, sorry about that. All my all my guys went yellow through there. Okay, there it is. There it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna move that up forward through here. And this is my anticipation pose. Cool. I hit that. Usually worked before, I guess.
Is there a
Possibly
reason
not,
that
but
you're
if
doing
not,
only 50% in the in between?
50%. Yeah, it's just like a tween on, a tween on the tween, so to speak.
Okay.
I don't think my tween machine's working too well. Does my blend of ease work okay? Yeah, it does. Okay, so, that's interesting. I wonder why. Let me just try using my all keys. I've already got a hot set. Maybe it's because I'm grabbing everything all at once. Let me like
Mhm.
grab that. Okay, yeah, and just working that. Yeah, so like this wind up, yeah, I'm getting more time between the anticipation and then from here, then you could start to really noodle around with like if I wanted to make something like push pull, like I could play around with that, which really pushes it a little bit further, you know.
Yeah.
So like you could really start to play with like how much you're easing into the pose. So this is more of like a heavier attack. You're holding this pose, and then basically this is your hit attack and coming back to idle. So I'll push the idle way back here, and this is more of a heavier attack. So now you're feeling more anticipation into a hit attack, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now the key to feel this weight is what I like to do is before hitting your hit attack, I will insert a breakdown before coming from your anticipation to your hit attack. So moving this forward, uh, I'll make another keyframe, and in this pose right here, I will just break the shit out of it. you know,
Yeah.
I will push it further than it needs to go. I will stretch it. I would push that pose like we're talking about, like really feeling that energy, really pushing that line out. And of course, I'm breaking the character, but this is only for like a frame that
So
you
they're not
guys
going
are
to
able to
really
see it.
see this. They're going to just feel it, right?
Exactly, exactly. You're kind of
Okay.
like a magician, right? So we can
I
get rid
see.
of this. We don't need to see that anymore. But yeah, you're starting to like, that's what Hunter Grant told me when we were working in Overwatch. It's like, now that you guys are seeing the process, you're going to know where it's at. Um, let's see, I think it's this pose, yeah, for the scaling of the fist. I've also got a very crafty, handy tool. That's not what I want to do because if I scale this, you see how this hand gets all messed up. But I got a very crafty tool that actually just scales the joints themselves and it works off of UV. it's really kind of corrupted the way like I workflow. But I break rigs like this, and this is
Wow.
just how much of a mess that I am. So like, let's just say I'll do a vertice. I'll pop this tool, and it'll tell me what joint do you want to affect, and I'll be
Mhm.
like, okay, this is my wrist joint. All right, or like my hand joint, and then I could just beef that up a little bit, or just down the line. Right now, it's just doing a hand pose, but I'll cheat it. So like, let's just say this pose, I'll like scale this up a little bit, even though it's a little tarnished and trashy. And I'll go back to this pose through here. So if we look at it from the left side, you know, I just feel that pop, that overshoot,
Nice.
and now that you're watching that, you're feeling that snap, you're feeling that energy. So this is one way to do it, right? And then if I want to make it heavier, you could just add more anticipation, more lead into it. But the thing is, Steven, is I'm just working with these keyframes right now. I'm blocking it. I'm feeling it. I'm timing it out to say like this is how much I want versus if I want to do like something quick, like if I want to take this away, take these guys back and lead into the punch a little quicker. So to one of your audiences questions, I think. Like, let's just say, like, I want to feel a heavy attack, but I want to get there a little quicker. Well, then all I would have to do is maybe get rid of this guy, go straight to my anticipation, and then go straight into my attack and hold it there. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild does this. This is a little off right here. I gotta grab this. I told you this is a very, very nasty way of doing things.
Yeah, you got to make selection set out of that.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Actually, that's a good idea. Let me do that right now. Grab this, grab that, yeah, and then put that there. So like scale fists, something simple. And then I'll just move that one back here too.
Mhm.
And now this is just like really playing around. This is a sandbox to feel like the response of the button is I want to hit the character, but I want to make it feel strong. So I will live inside the fist. I will live inside that hit pose and keep it there and settle and do my, like my settle and my overshoots and kind of like my blend ins and my blend outs and stuff. So that's the very basic core when it comes to fighting and animation too. So it can go both ways, which I think is really, really fun.
Mhm.
And like even through that, like I can put this into a prototype of Unreal and then start to play with like how I feel about this
Mhm.
response. Like, like how does it feel? How does it blend in? And even further, if I want to give a little bit more information on like how the pose feels, this is what's called kind of like the whip or like the C shape or kind of like the whiplash effect. I forgot where it was. I don't know if it was in um, I don't know if it was in the survival kit. Probably not. Uh, I might be blanking, but this is like where you
Whiplash?
the whiplash. Yeah, it's like I don't know if it's called the whiplash or not. I keep blanking on it. It's so bizarre. But basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to insert a breakdown between anticipation to hit. So looking at it in perspective, right? This is kind of like where I'm starting.
Mm.
This is where I'm ending. Whoops. Epic pen, you're not so epic. And this is where I'm ending right here. But that breakdown that I'm looking for, kind of like that snap, is
Okay.
something that I'm trying to insert in
Uh,
between here, like
yeah.
that whip. And you can add that breakdown in order to add a little bit more weight, a little bit more heavy into your attack, and a little
Mhm.
bit more information, you know. Like let's just say we're not doing Cuphead, Mega Man, Castlevania, like we're not doing these quick roguelikes, where our turtle game all of a sudden became an action adventure game, and we want to really read between the lines. We want to really feel that smooth transition, so like that's basically all I'll do. And
Mhm.
then I'll grab this. And I love, like, sometimes I'm nudging tools around with these two guys, like these nudge tools, which is usually fun. But a lot of the times I like to use this insert in between tool so that it just moves everything that I have down. So, I'm starting to use these a hell of a lot more than I used to. And
Nice.
basically what I do is, like I'll just try to take a pose for free, So like I'll just move this one back a little bit and just go right back to my cog, my core, you know. Maybe I'll lead in with the hips a little bit. And notice, guys, that I'm not like I'm doing this really rough and ugly, like
Mhm.
I'm not really paying attention too much to the shapes. I'm just trying to get that feeling, through here too as well. Let me turn off this polyplane. Let me go back to this movement as well. Zeroing this guy out, seeing
Mhm.
where that's at, and then, you know, holding this back a little bit more. And the cool thing is too as well, I've got like what you can do is grab like a small part of this section and be like, okay, this is what I want to hold back. And I'll just go like the blend to ease. Like I'll move that back really quick. Or I'll take that. I'll just go blend to ease back here. Cool. All right. Got that pose that I'm looking for. Maybe I just rotate this guy back through here, and then start to really find that line, like really find kind of like that S snap shape that I'm looking for. And I
Mhm.
could break the hell out of this pose, lead in with this head too, you know,
Brad,
and
what is
really
the
kind of
difference
find that.
between blend to ease and tween machine? Like, I don't know that.
Okay, yeah. So Tween Machine basically just interpolates where is the middle ground between, your first pose and your last pose. Blend to ease basically just says this is like the edge and ending part to your pose. So to
Mhm.
speak, it goes from 0 to whatever's in the middle through here between two keyframes.
Mhm.
Now, Tween Machine comes in two spaces: world space, which takes a little bit more time. It'll just interpolate where everything is in world space and it'll totally ignore your keyframes, or it'll just go between the exact new number between 0 and 1, and it'll say zero point 0.5. That's where your in between goes. And then you could overshoot it however you can. Blend to ease is just a nice way to like really smoothen out that curve, your tangent. I use blend to ease a lot more than I use tween machine,
Interesting.
and I don't particularly use too many of these guys. uh More just blend to ease, but if it comes to like really finding kind of like a calculated in between, which is not going to be perfect. It's not going to say this is the perfect in between your two poses. It's just going to match numbers between where one is at in space versus the other, if that makes sense, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I
Makes sense.
like using blend to ease a hell of a lot more. I think I jumped the gun with like saying, "Oh, I'm going to use my tween machine on all my controllers." That's just me trying to get something of a shape in
Hmm.
between, so to
I
speak.
see.
Yeah. And then through here too. So like I'll grab these two guys and then I'll switch over to my other arm. Whoops. Okay. I'll switch over to my other arm and then say like, okay, this one's coming around too fast. And then I'll just play with my blend to ease, and it says, oh, okay, this is exactly what I had before. But uh, if I do my alt tween machine through, yeah, I guess, yeah, it's just going to keep it in space. It just gives me something to kind of work off of because my body's in front, but
Yeah.
everything that's my previous pose can get held, so I can hold on to these poses just a little
Hmm.
bit more, and then start to find like a nice breakdown.
Nice.
Mind you, as I'm doing this, I'm still kind of tweaking and pushing and rolling and making like,
Hmm.
my animation feel grounded and feeling stable.
Leading
So
with the hips.
yeah, yeah, leading with the hips, finding that S curve. And Raf's a big boy, so like there's only so far you can push him, but I'm always
Hmm.
thinking about how can I twist, how can I find that shape? How can I, like how can I make it feel like he's not too broken, but feel like he's supposed to be pushing that way?
Yeah. Brad, so Jack has a quick question here. Let's look into this. Not sure if you went over it already, but do you often pay attention to where the body has tension and is relaxed when it comes to making your poses? How do you think about things like that?
Let's see. Often pay attention where body has tension and relax when it comes to making your poses. How do you think about things like that? That's a really good question. Tension in your posing. I think Randy Haycock said something in 2D, which was kind of like, I don't want to say like mind blowing, but just kind of like forced perspective. He just says, when it comes to broader actions, pushing and spacing tend to read better. But when it comes to like very eternal, subtle actions, tight and connect reads more. So it's almost like tight and steady versus broad and expansive. And that texture between the two plays out in really good animation timing. I don't think if that quite answers your question, but when it comes to poses, I basically look for first, like, does my character feel grounded? Like right here, he feels like he's centered. His weight is centered. Like I can't push him back, forward, left, and right, and he's not going to be able to tip over. Even when I'm pushing here, notice how my foot's off the ground. So either there's two things that I can do about this. Either I can take the cog and bring it back, give it a little bit of bend into the leg to show pressure. I always tell everybody, especially my students too, don't try to hyperextend arms or legs because that's when things usually look abnormal and they don't really read well when it comes to animation because there's so much snapping. You always want a little bend and a little curve. Samantha Youssef always says, and like star spangled angles, like literally just like making sure that there's like some complexity to show tension, to show like flexing. Because if you think about it, guys, our characters or some of our characters, they're organic. you know we have to think of it as they have guts, they have intestines, they have muscles, they have solidity inside of their bodies. But because we're animators, we're allowed to push and break these principles. But it's only the part that we're reading this do we want to make it feel strong. So yeah, I would say when you're looking for those moments to feel tense, I would say just make sure that your character um, is is not too A to B, right? Or like not too symmetrical, breaking up those angles, bending those angles. Because when we come in as a T pose puppet, we see it's a puppet, right? And when we start adding weight or like bend in the legs or breathing or like shoulders, right? You start to really feel that character coming to life, and we start to feel, even if it's standing there, we start to feel that sense of weight. Glenn Keane talks about it like adding calories to your drawing. You just feel fat, like when you draw them. And I was like, that's such a crazy analogy. But it's like I just want to get really gritty into like how I'm performing that kind of stuff. So this part, yeah, I could bring the cog back down through here, or like a good animator should do, I could start breaking some of the rules, right? So I can go into his his uh, his control scheme over here, and I could start the where was that? Where was this little guy? I think this is it, right? I think there was a
Brad, I'm going to be back in
sub
1 minute. Okay,
control. Okay, looks like I'm taking over now.
yeah, take over.
All right, guys. Let's talk about beer. I love beer. Brewing is good for. No, just messing with you. Let's see. Leg bend control. Where is that at? I swear I saw this. Oh, he's taking a break. I'm trying to find this one too as well. Right. There's a bend control. Where? Am I seeing this correct? Oh, the stretch is over here. Okay, that's it. The leg length. That's another thing too. Is like just studying the rig that you're working with. Not every rig is going to be the end all be all. Stretch. There it is. Cool. There we go. And now that I put the stretch on there, you guys are seeing that I have connection versus this, right? So this is abiding by the rig's rules. This is me pushing it and breaking it, right? Because this is what you want to do. We have the ability to break reality when it comes to animating. It's important to get the basics understand, but also the big deal is breaking the rules. If we're not bending or pushing the rules, we're not animating. You know, that's what makes our craft so special. Cool. So while he's away, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to work on this pose. I want to work on this breakdown a little bit, lead with the elbow.
All right, I'm back.
Hey, welcome back. And I'm probably going to add, let's see. Actually, let's see.
The wild gamer here. Hey guys, I've always had this doubt. How much of the cog and the isolated hip controller should you use to do a pose?
Isolated hip controller. How much of the cog and isolated hip controller should you use to do a pose? If you're asking like how important the cog is, I would say it's very important. It's super important. Uh, I always tell my students, as well as I look for myself, especially when using broader actions, everything comes out of your hips. It's basically your foundational core. If you think about it, I remember taking my first animation lesson, and there was a title that said "Walking is Falling," and I was like, "What?" Because what is this riddle? Like I don't understand. But if you think about it, when you walk, your brain doesn't comply it because you learn at a young age, but it's basically what your hip is doing. In order to move, you are leaning somewhere, you are falling somewhere, but you're just catching yourself with your legs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the most heaviest part of our bodies are our torsos that is being driven by the hips. Anything that comes out of action wise, whether it be running, jumping, landing, moving, twisting, punching, you name it, lifting, it all starts from the core. So your cog animation is vital. But what I also say to that too is your foundation makes it believable. So if you are if your weight is balanced and your legs, being IK that they are, feel strong, then you have a good solid foundation. So it's like that's why I'm like, don't ignore your feet positions, don't ignore your leg positions, uh, and by focusing on posing, just posing alone, and not really quite getting into the movement quite yet, that's where I feel the energy comes from, just solidifying that almost like a statue or a drawing to make it feel tight as you're animating, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So this is going to be my overshoot pose, and I could push it even further. This is, this is me
Nice.
really, really playing around with how far I could take this rig. And just by doing like small little things like that, you know, you really feel that, like that push, right? You feel that shape change. You feel that snap. You feel that energy. And already it's like, man, let's put this into a game and let's see how this feels. And then this is
Mm-hmm.
I'm not polishing anything, right, guys? Like I'm not even getting into the final stage where when we make video games, it's like popsicle stick theater. It's like pretty much give me as much information with as little work as possible, so to speak. So it's like popsicle. This is a terrible analogy, but it's just like you can have two popsicle sticks come in and have a conversation and be entertained by that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is basically like they do in 2D, rough drawings. You're just sensing energy, you're sensing movement, you're sensing, how does all this come into play, right? While you're putting it into the game. So yeah. just whip that up real quick, and then the
And
settle.
sorry,
Go ahead.
whenever you're like, do you, what's your workflow like getting into the game engine? Do you have like, you test out these very quick motions, these, the popsicle example you did, you get that into the game engine and you just test it out, and then you show it
Yeah,
to people, and
yeah,
from there you keep working on it, huh?
yeah. Because most people think like working in the game industry, I gotta deliver a final product. No, like what we have to understand when. So this is more developer talk. When you work in video games, you're basically playing an instrument to a giant band of people with different talents and different skills. So think of me and us talking animation to each other to somebody who's just heard animation for the first time. What does that mean, key pose? What does this mean, anticipation? Why do I need more frames here? What are frames in your world? It's like it's basically just crossing over and saying like, this is how it has to feel. It's like, well, I played a game before. I want it to feel heavy. I want it to feel poppy. I want it to feel striking. Let's prototype it, right? So
Mhm.
you don't have to deliver a final product, just something just enough to communicate the information that you're trying to get. And with animation, you can do that in a couple of key poses, mind the timing. And when we're all playtesting that, that's when feedback comes in. Like, oh, that feels good, or I like that punch, or maybe we need to try something different.
Mhm.
And you don't want to spend all your time polishing stuff to a final product when it doesn't work at all, or if it needs to be changed. That's why rough and dirty, or in this case, blocking, is usually kind of the way to go. For me, I think it's all in the posing. If I can make you believe and feel something out of just a few keyframes on a solid foundation, I think I got a pretty good start, you know.
Mhm.
And if we need to add more keys, then by all means, I'll just go through here and then just add some more anticipation, add some more like, strength and stuff. That scale fist is killing me, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like add a little bit more time or quicken it up a little bit too. So, just the more simplistic, the better. Uh, I think when it comes to game prototyping.
Right.
And then like because games tend to take place over a lot of characters and we need something quick, sometimes we'll take the DNA from an existing character and just throw a skin or a mesh on top of it and use previous animations. Like the character will break, but we're trying to get a feel of it. We're trying to
Yeah.
get the feel of it happening before we decorate it uh, for animation, so to speak.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, just like I like to play with kind of like settling. So like in this case, like this is just me. So to this gentleman's question, I think it was Wild Gamer. This is me working on the core, just the cog, right? So I have settle, I have my nice ease in, so you're feeling heavy, and then all of a sudden I can even move the cog back to, with my blend ease, back to like square one. So this is how he goes right back to like the end,
Combat
like,
idol.
yeah, to the idle. And basically kind of like Stephen, how you and Alon were working, you work in blocking, like literally blocking, like with shapes, and then
Mhm.
you can start to fill in the in betweens. My method is basically, and this, I don't endorse this tool, but sometimes there's a way to get around it. So this is just your blue pen tool, that you move in on this little guy. Let's see, my little guy through here. Okay, this little guy right here. So this is basically just saying like, okay, maybe I want to add another keyframe in here through here, holding, or maybe just bringing this fist around through here, and then just adding it to the next keyframe. It's basically just stick figure, popsicle stick theater,
Mhm.
as I come to a settle, bringing my fist in, bringing it out again, you know, just something that shows me like a blueprint and I could basically just rotoscope on top of it. Maybe I could start bending the body here, coming back, lifting off this foot. And it's not perfect, mind you. Like it's not like sometimes the feet are sliding a little bit and things are kind of like all off and a little whack here and there, but it's very rough stuff. Like it's just I'm not trying to paint Picasso here. I'm not trying to draw Aladdin. I'm just trying to find movement. I'm trying to feel shapes. I'm trying to establish where my core is coming and going,
Hmm.
feeling of like how my animation can get back. And it's all just rough stuff. And it's basically like you putting a sphere and a cube inside of a scene and animating it in 3D, where I'm
Hmm.
just drawing a stick figure. I'm just trying to find a flow.
Yeah,
So I can do that too as well to kind of help guide me where I want to go. So
that's really cool.
yeah, it's I learned that from Jason Ryan, and it took me
Oh
a
yeah.
long time to understand like why is he doing this? He works at DreamWorks. Are you telling me he shows stick figure first
Mhm.
passes? But what I didn't understand at the time was he's basically doing the timing and spacing pass
Mhm.
immediately as quickly as he can just to get the flow going. So that
Right.
way he can establish his blocking pass in 3D.
Hmm.
Pixar animators do this too. There's some fantastic 2D animators that draw a 2D first pass because their mentality was 2D animation. They know how to do pose to pose.
Hmm.
And once that is approved, then it's just translating into 3D and the rest of the process is that much more simple.
Right.
So, it's a bit mix of two. I'm not the best 2D animator. I'm not a good draftsman, but I know that timing and spacing come from that, and getting that as quickly as I can into 3D without having to wrestle a lot with the posing saves time,
Right.
saves time and energy too, as well.
Yeah. Jack, I missed your question. Sorry about that. I'm just seeing it right here. But this kind of answers your question, right? He says he's familiar with the primitive pass method, which is animating boxes, and the
Hmm.
layered workflow. Is there an incentive to establishing your key poses and then using those other workflows as needed? So yeah, it kind of answers your question,
Mm.
what we just talked about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, what I like to say is too, because a lot of what I love about different animators, what I love about you and I love about Alon is that everybody's different in how they animate. And I always encourage everybody and my students, I'm like, I show you, it's like show and tell. I show you what I do, you show me what you do.
Hmm.
Maybe I can pick up a trick or two that you do that fits nicely in my workflow.
Right.
There's never one animation method is the best animation method. Like if you read Richard Williams' book, that guy is insane with like how he sets up posing, how he animates follow through,
Hmm.
and it's never like the one way is the way. It's just a way to do it. And I
Hmm.
like to I like to encourage people to try to adapt other workflows and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, well just take the part that does work and fit it into kind of how you like it. And if none of it does, maybe like establish how you like to do and then also improve on that too as well.
Right.
That's what I think is so great. I think everybody can find their own rift on how to animate if it helps them be faster and more efficient. And as long as it feels good, because when it doesn't feel good, that's when I take it out. I'm like, I don't like doing it this way, like it doesn't feel comfortable. I mean, hell, I bought this weird, crazy thing, in order to help my flow. And people are like, bro, what is wrong with you? I'm like, it's just how my mind rolls, like
Yeah.
it's like how I like doing things. Like I like Animbot. Most people like Mike McCarowitz, a godlike animator in Pixar. He doesn't even use hotkeys. He
He
doesn't use
doesn't.
Anabot. He doesn't use anything. It always baffled me. He's like, I'm like, do you have any shortcuts? No, absolutely. He animates like my grandpa, and I'm like, but that's just his thing.
Yeah.
That's what comes natural to him. He's just such a hothead for curves editors. He spends
Yeah.
his time editing curves. And
So
that's
Michael
all fine.
Makarowitz, is that how you say his name?
Mike
Michael
Makarowitz,
Mike
yeah.
Makarowitz.
I for,
He's a Pixar animator, and he has a course called Learn to Layer. It's on animc.com.
yeah.
I took his workshop a while ago, a couple of years ago, and it was really good. He animates the layered way, and I don't use that workflow, but I took some stuff that I got from him and I implemented it into my workflow. I'm more about like, not copying curves on top of each other. I just use the basic overrig scripts and like space switching. I feel like I have more control over it. But if you guys want to check out animc.com, learn to
Hmm.
layer, you can look that up. Really good animator.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike is the man. He's very unfiltered too. So
Really?
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Be just know that you gotta get 2 adult admission tickets for his course.
Wow.
uh, no,
Nice.
he's a fantastic guy. I took an NMC with him a long time ago.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, he's just very straightforward. I think what I learned most from him is texture, how to break
Hmm.
up visual texture in your animation, how never one thing is the same beat over and over again. It's
Hmm.
more, it has its quicks, its slows, its ups and its downs. He explains it like music is good to us because there's different rhythms, there's different volumes, there's different beats.
Right.
Visual language is the same thing. We pick it up through actions,
Hmm.
and how it doesn't seem to be like a cycle. There's always like something that's holding and feeling a little bit more different to make your animation really pop.
Right.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, so far this is kind of like how my blocking just kind of presents itself. I know we're getting like an hour and a half over
Mm.
through here, but I could definitely show you kind of like,
Yeah, all good. I mean, I have time.
okay, I
If you
could
have
definitely
time.
show you like the little turtle project. I can give you guys a little preview of what I'm working on.
Hmm.
That's taking a while. Uh,
Endless Nova asks, do you guys feel like streaming your animation process helps you to be more productive?
ooh, um, I'm gonna say I don't like anybody watching me while I work, so I don't know why I stream. I don't know if that's the same for you, Steven. I know you're a beast at that. It seems to come
Um,
second nature to you.
well, I mean, watching myself later, my recording, I don't like talking a lot.
Hmm.
But like watching myself in time lapse, I can see, okay, I'm repeating that thing. I'll just cut that off. And then, but also teaching uh, made me a better animator, like teaching, talking about it, like what my workflow.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if I have to say something good about it, I think it helps me to be more direct in what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Because I suffer from bad ADHD. I tend to get distracted, like, ooh, piece of candy, or like,
Right.
ooh, I heard something on a podcast that really made me want to explore a little bit more. But I think having an audience and being kind of like, front and center, it forces me to really, really, really make decisions a little bit more carefully. And I have to not be afraid to fail, because somewhere along the line I'm going to f up. I'm going to break something. Something is
Yeah.
not going to work. But the good news is that I've kind of had a small community that's been very helpful in helping me troubleshoot a lot of these things. And
Mhm.
even when I'm doing Blender sessions, I do not know jack shit about Blender, but I have a Blender audience that is always on standby that loves to come in to help me with like questions I might have. So I think that is a very good pro to streaming the process. So I think it goes both ways. Like I'm kind of like helping others by talking about what I do in animating, and I'm learning a lot, from places that either I'm a little rusty on or I have questions about,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I feed you, you feed me kind of process.
Nice.
Uh, so don't be afraid to fail, I guess, if that's the takeaway. But yeah, I do get anxious when I'm like, okay, I'm anxious right now, like I'm on Steven's podcast
Are you really?
video. Yeah, yeah.
You
I'm
don't
just
show.
like,
You
what do
don't
I
show at
do?
all.
But yeah, so let me pop open something really quick. I can
Hmm.
I can show you guys what a lot of this havoc in my head can produce over a long time. Now, this is a project I've been on for quite a while, and this is only one shot in particular that I'm working on. And this has to do with a Ninja Turtles animation and kind of like the same step by step process that I'm showing you. And this is just one attack, but I'm also incorporating camera work as well as multiple rigs in the scene as well. It's insane. And kind of like giving myself more rope to hang myself with. uh, so yeah. So yeah, this is a Ronin project that I'm working on right now currently. And let me see if I can, yeah, let me see if everything's kind of in play. Um, it's kind of like in a spline polishy phase for right now. But as you can see, this is my main guy. And this is basically what you're going to be looking at through here. So I'll play a little bit of it for you guys. You'll be able to first to see this premiere. And that's kind of all of where I'm at right now.
Wow, that's crazy. How long did it take you?
Oh God. So I'm never keeping track of this, but I know I started this more than 6 months ago. Now, mind
Okay.
you, I haven't had free time to animate this. So I'm just clocking it in on stream time. Normally my
Hmm.
stream times last about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
So by the time that was done, so like I stream twice a week. So that's six, let's just say 8 hours a week. 8 times 4 is 32. And 6 months is like, I don't know, like my math sucks, 180 hours
Hmm.
maybe so far. So that's pretty much where I'm on right now. But as you guys will see, like this is basically just blocking, right? This is kind of on twos and on threes, but I'm really, really focusing in on staging as well as posing, you know, to
Yeah.
really, really read between the lines. Now, there's a lot of polish in between, but I don't want to make it as smooth uh, as most. I want to try to take my hand in like the Spider Verse, you
Hmm.
like work what they call, which is basically just blocking on twos. And mind you guys, this is even half of it. I got all these guys in the background
Oh
too.
my God.
So these are all background characters that I added in. So these are cached, so my Maya doesn't kill itself.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is kind of like the whole staging, the staging
Yeah.
and how this is all played out. So this is just one shot, by the way. There's plenty
Yeah.
more shots to follow. This is just only the establishing shot.
No
So this is
camera
kind of
cut
my
yet.
short film. What's that?
No camera cut yet.
No camera cut. This is a steady 600, yeah, 615 shot,
Hmm.
back and forth fight, and then it will cut into a lot shorter shots with minimal two characters and more dynamic camera work. Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
same
So cool.
principles I just taught here. That's kind of how I established my posing. But this
Hmm.
comes at a price because you have a lot longer and you're animating two people interacting with one another, and that is a whole skill set on itself. So I'll
Hmm.
just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Alex says this is dope.
What's up, Alex? You're dope, man.
And Stigraph says, amazing, so much work on it.
Thank you, Stigraph. It is a
You really
lot.
selling the action here, Brad. Solid work, Alex
Thanks,
says.
buddy. Yeah, I'm trying. It's gonna. I'm gonna take a lot of free time as I can to try
Mhm.
to complete at least half of this because this is kind of turning into a short film for me.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to build a dynamic course where I'm teaching people how to think this way.
Hmm.
My dynamic course requires, you know, a hero and camera work connected. So putting camera dynamicism into solid posing in
Right.
order to project, very, very fluent, realistic, and more of that 2D anime style that we all enjoy loving, how to push 3D to its kind of maximum effect, so to speak. You know, and yeah, that's kind of where
So
I'm
is
at.
that a course that you're actually working on right now, or you have that
Yeah, I don't. It's
vision?
like it's so funny because I was like, "Shut up! Don't tell anybody what you're doing." But yeah, that's kind of like where I want to take what
Hmm.
I'm doing as far as I animate. It's basic, pure teaching animation basics.
Right.
And this, I believe, there's not really a course out there that's dabbling into this kind of,
Hmm.
style of animation or setup or what do I do? There's a few. Like there's a few online kind of like crash courses, but nobody who's really talking about how to sync camera work up with, your the action of your character. And I
I see.
really love camera work a lot. I do
Yeah.
a lot of super moves. I do a lot of like when I was on Mortal Kombat, I did a lot of fatalities. I did a lot of super moves. I did a lot of character intros, boss intros,
Hmm.
and that requires an animator's knowledge of camera work as well too, which a
Hmm.
lot of people are unaware of. That they come in just thinking that they're animating, but sometimes you're actually expected to do a little bit of camera work. So
Right.
that's something I'm hoping to kind of put a little bit into a documentation of.
Hmm.
Here's kind of the setup, here's kind of how you think about composition and framework and shape language, and how the principles of animation attach to beats of your shots and sequence. So it's it's a lot more dimensional than basically just setting up a character for an
Yeah.
attack.
Right.
you know, because you're dabbling with screen space.
Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
yeah, most definitely. Because you can trick the let me see if I could show this one to you too. You can trick the spacing of what you're doing through the camera. If we got a little bit of time, I'll show you like a little sneak peek of
Yeah. I
this
have time.
thing. Okay, just really quick. This is so I'm working on a small, helping a couple friends of mine working on a small game called Combo Devils,
Hmm.
and the Kickstarter is up. It's fully funded, but we're also kind of like in the fighting game scene. And for this one particular shot, let's see. So this is a character called Achilles, and this is his intro. Okay, cool. So this is our character Achilles, and this is kind of like some of the dynamic camera work that I used in order to kind of sell his appearance. So we come in back, he does his little arm pose, and then he does like
What the hell?
this crazy look through here. Actually, I don't think this is the right one. Let me see.
Is he wiping off blood or something? Like, what is that?
Yeah, he's I think I kind of sold it a little too quick to you guys. Let's see. Maybe this might be the one. Yeah, he's kind of like sharpening his blade.
Hmm.
There we go. Here we go. There we go. This is the much more better one. So yeah, Achilles is kind of like, think of Captain Falcon, but with some style. And yeah, when we introduce him, this is his main horn, like almost like a razor blade and attack. And I think let me get rid of these two guys really quick. I don't know how I set this scene up. That's another thing too. So this is the introduction to his weapon, and then you see like this quick pull out, you know, kind of like blade sharpening technique. He's just sharpening his blade, right? And you're seeing this thing really dynamically pull out, right? But when you take the camera, but when you put this in 3D, this is essentially what you're seeing. So this is the camera right through here, right? Right there, right in front of the blade. And this is basically all he's doing. That's it. So this is what we're not showing you. But through spacing, profile, and how you're setting it up towards the camera, Perique, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a animator. He's a fantastic Blender animator called Perique, Picot, I think, on YouTube, and he preaches by this method of animating, not moving the camera at all, but just posing the character towards the camera. So you start to get this kind of sense of dynamic action, that can really give you a feel, right? So there's a lot of tricks of the trade that you can learn from camera animation, and this is one of them.
Nice.
So yeah.
Pierrick
Yeah,
Picot.
Perique Picot.
Pier,
Thank you, Stefan. Yeah, yeah.
Pierrick Picot.
Perique
You don't say
Picot.
the T. It's French,
Right.
I think. I don't know.
Piquet. I don't know.
We
Picot.
just
I'm sorry, Perique.
messed
Yeah,
up his name.
we love you, man. Yeah, it sucks. People fuck up my last name too as well.
Oh yeah, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Faucheux.
It's just literally for show.
Literally Faucheux. It's
Okay.
Faucheux. 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 That's the southern pronunciation of it,
Yeah.
but it's originally
Where does it come
Faucheux.
from? The last
It's
name?
French. Yeah,
French?
at least I think so. Yeah,
Okay, I see.
sounds pretty French to me. Spelled
Yeah, it
pretty
sounds
French.
elegant.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's a hard name to live up to. Yeah, but yeah, guys.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. So that's about it.
Yeah, you guys have any questions? You can type it in, and then if not, we'll just end it soon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's kind of like harkening back just to the style, like when, like every time that I even start animating or get assigned an animation, or like I'm doing right now to my 9 to 5, working with like almost bigger than life characters, it's always Malcolm Pierce in the back of my head, you know, like talking about how posing is foundational, how really, really bending and selling, even breaking a character too, and finding that golden pose, as Eric Goldberg used to say, like back in the day, they called them golden poses. So the head animator would draw them, and then the in-betweeners would take them and fill in the in-betweens. Those are the storytelling parts. So yeah, I mean that's basically kind of what I try to do to my animation, and keep it up to par.
Yeah. Alex says Brad's understanding of camera work and character presentation is really top tier.
Thank you.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Malcolm
Bless your heart.
Pierce. This is him, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Malcolm
does he
Pierce.
still teach, by the way?
I don't think so. But he does. He made his directorial debut on Disney Plus. He worked on a short, I think, called. Let me see. Was it Versa or Mana or something like that? Yeah, he's Versa. Yeah, that's it. Versa. So it's on Disney Plus. And if you guys go watch that, you could tell his blueprints all over it, because it's a simple story about a couple, but like you could see time and dedication is just in the most simplistic of posing, and
Mhm.
storytelling. I think it's a dance number too, so there's a lot of movement, a lot of grace and stuff like that too as well. But yeah, Malcolm, if you're out there, I don't know, I haven't, or if you even bother to see this, thank you for everything, dude. Like he's on another level
Yeah.
when it comes to finding posing and animation for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Cool, man.
yeah.
All right. So I don't think we have any questions. Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
No problem, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for reaching out.
Hmm.
Look forward to collabing with you in the further. Maybe I could have you on my podcast or my
Let's do it.
stream too as well. So,
Let's do it.
that's I'm looking forward to getting more on social media this year, and putting more, tutorials and more kind of like um, more animating, if I can. So
Yeah.
it's really fun doing this kind of stuff, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys
Yeah.
got something out of it.
For sure. Akash says,
For
thank
show.
you for show.
There you go.
All right. I'm going to end it here. Very
All right, guys.
informative. I hope the street. Yeah, I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to delete it. Thank you. All right. Let's end it. See you guys.